Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase, pricing, and availability questions concerning this watch. Today we're discussing the latest version of the Omega Speedmaster 57. The original came out in 2013 and it was automatic. This model debuted in 2022, and in the interests of making it thinner, Omega decided to go with a manual movement, though it is derived from the automatic. So it's a slimmer watch, it's a smaller watch in steel at 40.5 millimeters in diameter. It's 13.3 millimeters thick, lug-to-lug tip 49.5, end link to end link. The total distance across the wrist is 52.4. and it has a spacing between the lugs of 20 millimeters. It's a nice change of pace from the Moon watch, as this is vintage inspired, and you can see the elements on the dial. You can see the elements on the minimally beveled case and the lack of crown guards, but it's very much a modern watch. It's not a re-edition by any means. No one's going to confuse this with a CK2915, but it's more of a love letter than a clone. So this is a modern watch with some vintage vibes. And on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, it does fit better than the predecessor model, and it is thinner, although the cantilever of the bezel means it still could get hung up on a really tight cuff. You're going to be good in just about all cases. I'd recommend this watch for a wrist of 15 centimeters circumference or larger. The bracelet is sort of a vintage-inspired flat link design, and you can see that we've got a conforming end piece. We've got a little bit of a taper down towards the clasp. We have satin intermediates, polished shoulder links, it's polished outboard. We have many individual small removable links, so you can really fine-tune the fit. We have a thick gauge single fold clasp with twin trigger release. Note that we have three different types of finishes on this clasp. We have a media blast, satination, and polish. Inside, you can see there's a little push button micro adjustment. So I'll demonstrate how this works. Sometimes it's a little bit easier off camera. There we go. That's how it pulls out, and there's very little adjustability here, but it's just enough that if for whatever reason your wrist expands or contracts due to activity or inactivity, you just push it down and slide it out, or you slide it back in. And that's how that works, a small micro adjustment. The case, like I said, is vintage inspired, so it's squared off at the ends. We don't have lyre style lugs. We don't have crown guard structures. And you can see we've got a little bit of a distinction between some satin elements and polished elements. The underside of the bezel is polished. The lug hoods and ends are polished. The mid case is satinated. The bezel is metal, and you can see calibrated on a satin metal base. We've got a domed and boxed sapphire designed to look like a plexi. Make no mistake, it is a sapphire. The dial here is a triple register chrono, but with superimposed chrono hours and minutes over at 3 o'clock, it has a twin register aesthetic. Now we've got a couple of different elements here. We have white, we have black, we have a step to the outer dial, and then we've got a lovely metallic blue center that looks quite good, and there's no shortage of luminescence here. Again, it is a modern watch, so you can easily see the time. We've got that vintage-inspired broad arrow hour hand. Now, of course, though this is a manual wind, it is based on the premium Omega twin barrel movements, so I have the ability to adjust the hour hand independently while the watch continues to run. And you can see I'm able to adjust the date forward or backwards depending on which way I'm traveling across the international date line. If I pull the crown out all the way, I do activate hacking seconds, so you can stop the seconds hand. You can synchronize it to a reference time. It is a combination of a vertical clutch and a column wheel. Now, the vertical clutch means that you can engage the chronograph with no extraneous movement. That seconds hand will not jump, it will not stagger, it will always reset perfectly to 60. And if you wish to leave it running full time, there's no additional wear or tear to the watch with a vertical clutch, so that's the advantage there. So the chronograph, very crisp column wheel feel, and Omega allows you to see that traditional column wheel, though if we're really strict, Omega's column wheel on these is best described as a hybrid of a cam and a column wheel. It's got some characteristics of each. Now, the movement, of course, is best described as a balled automatic. That's what I call a converted automatic that's become a manual, because you can see there are a lot of sheer open expanses where otherwise you would have interaction with a winding bridge and a winding train. So you've got this large, almost pocket watch-like three-quarter bridge. Watch beating away at 25,200 vibrations per hour, which is used prolifically throughout Swatch Group brands for silicone hairsprings. 60-hour power reserve. It is a twin barrel movement, which means you have a very flat torque curve from maximum wind to minimum wind, so it doesn't race when fully wound, and it doesn't slow down a ton after 18, 24, 36, or 48 hours. 45 joule movement is highly anti-magnetic with an anti-magnetic escapement, balance staff, balance, and silicone hairspring to over 15,000 Gauss. This generation of the watch is now a master chronometer, which is tested in 6 positions as a fully assembled watch, not 5 positions as a bare movement like the COSC. It does pass the COSC standards, but then 6 positions, fully cased up, power reserve, durability, water resistance, anti-magnetism, all elements of the master chronometer test. The watch also features a full bridge and a free-sprung balance for shock resistance. You can see arabesque Côte de Genève with a combination of polished and blackened screws. They're machine-cut bevels, but they're attractive and handsome to look at. People will be impressed when you show this to your friends. The coaxial escapement, which you can actually see, it's got a separate bridge below the balance if you look really closely. It's the tri-level coaxial. So the latest system, in a long line dating back to 1974 when Dr. George Daniels of Britain created the first, Omega industrialized it in 1999, and then later on, starting with the 8500s, it built purpose-built, that is from the base plate up, coaxial movements with tri-level coaxials. Some of the earlier coaxials were later upgraded to tri-level, but anything derived from the 8500, which includes this, would have been tri-level and coaxial natively. So they're very durable, they keep very good time, and there are fewer maintenance requirements. And those are the advantages of the coax, which uses tangential friction rather than a Swiss lever's greater sliding friction. So that's what's going on right there. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at the1916company.com. One more detail, just in case you didn't see it on the case back. This watch is 50 meters water resistant. There, you see it right there. I just wanted to be clear about that. Reach out to Team Mosso at the1916company.com for pricing.